Introducing two 72-volt monsters that everybody's been wanting to see race against each other. We have the luxury of having the Wolf King available and the 011X. I've seen on a lot of forums, everybody's wondering why this thing's compared to a bunch of 60-volt scooters. Well, today we're going to actually compare them to two 72-volt scooters. Everybody's been wondering how these things stack up to each other. Unfortunately, it's a little bit wet today, so we're not going to quite race them, but we're going to show you the biggest differences between both of these scooters. The 011X is going to be dual 1600 watt motors, where the Kaabo Wolf King is going to be dual 1500 watt motors. So the Kaabo Wolf King, it's a 72 volt 28 amp hour battery, where this is a 72 volt 35 amp hour battery on the 011X. The deck is much bigger on the 011X. It's really hard to comprehend. A lot of times when we get on the Kaabo Wolf King, we think it's a gigantic scooter, but when I get on the 011X and go to the Kaabo Wolf, it actually kind of feels small, surprisingly. The deck itself is a good almost like 8 inches longer and also wider. The other thing that's significant about this one is this one has nut brakes. The 011X sometimes comes with zoom brakes, but most of the time it does come with nut brakes, which I do think are much better than zoom brakes. They just feel better. They don't have that quite that abrupt stop. It's where you have more of a cushy feeling bringing it to a stop. On the Kaabo Wolf King, it's going to have your zoom hydraulic brakes. The biggest difference that I love about the Kaabo Wolf King is the underdeck lighting. The 011X does not have that underdeck lighting that you're seeing here. It doesn't have the bright headlight that we're seeing on here. The headlight that you see on the Kaabo Wolf King is much better. It's much brighter. And this one has a horn. That's a huge thing. As you can see, it's a motorcycle grade horn. There is no horn or bell on the 011X, so that's what this one definitely has a huge advantage of. And just a little bit better buttons. So they have updated this. This is the new Eco Turbo button, same thing as on the Kaabo Mantis Pro SE. But on the 011X, I haven't seen them upgrade it yet. It's going to be this yellow and red button, which I'm not a big fan of, but at least you can kind of tell what you're doing. But they are opposite. This one looks like that should be dual and turbo, but no, that's actually dual and this is eco, so this needs to be out for turbo mode. It's kind of opposite lands on that one. One thing you see on the 011X is it does have a keyed lock on there and a voltmeter. You can still, there's a voltmeter on the USS4 display and there's a voltmeter on the mini motors display, but there's not just a separate voltmeter, which is pretty nice, so you can actually see what's going on with the battery. The Mini Motors i3 display is on the Kaabo Wolf King, which I do think is a much better display. You can see this during the day where the QSS4 is hard to see in sunlight. And this does have Mini Motors controllers, which I do think is a much better choice too. I think Mini Motor controllers are going to be a better choice overall for longevity. This has got a much bigger kick plate on the 011X, and it's all metal. This Kaabo Wolf King, this is going to be metal and then a little bit of plastic around it. But you do have this metal bar guard around it. A gold bar that runs right around the whole thing that you can actually attach attachments to, so that's pretty sweet. I used to think the Kaabo Wolf King suspension was preferable for me, but actually I will give that to the 011X. I do think that's a little bit smoother on smooth pavement specifically. Like off-roading, I do like the Kaabo Wolf King a little bit better. Before I actually owned a 011X, when I used to just ride a Kaabo Wolf King, I used to be like, man, this thing's massive. And then when I'd go from the 011X to the Kaabo Wolf King, like I said, it was almost like I felt like I was stepping down into almost like a child's scooter. Even though it's still massive for most people, it just feels different when you're riding it. But the height of the stem on the Kaabo Wolf King is going to be 39 inches from the deck, and the height of the stem on the 011X is going to be 43 inches, so you have an extra 4 inches, so it feels nice for really tall people. And then the width of the handlebars on the Kaabo Wolf King is much shorter than the width on the 011X, and this is more curved too. So the 011X standard handlebars just feel much better underneath your hands. And the Kaabo Wolf King is going to have your motorcycle suspension in the front with spring suspension in the back. where the 011X is going to have swing arm suspension in the front, swing arm suspension in the back as well too. And then both of them have 11-inch tires, and then the brakes on here, they have increased the braking. The brake rotor is thicker on the Kaabo Wolf King. However, the brake disc thickness has always been thick on the 011X. So they're just basically mimicking the thickness on the 011X that's already been there. And the 011X is going to have keyed entry versus non-keyed entry. There is no keyed security on the scooter. However, for me, a keyed entry versus not keyed entry, anybody can lift it and anybody can push it with or without the key. Capacity on the Kaabo Wolf King is going to be 400 pounds, and the weight capacity on the 011X is going to be 330 pounds. But really, they're really similar in riding. I'd say this is a little bit more like a street bike. This is a little bit more like a dirt bike. And I would say that the preferred riders for both of them is really just going to be up to the rider itself. The Kaabo Wolf King is perfect for a smaller rider, someone who's not super tall. If you're over 6 feet tall, I think that the 011X is going to be a much better scooter for you, just because it's got a taller handlebars and a bigger deck. So bigger chute people, taller people, I think this is definitely a great winner for you. The big downfalls that you're going to get from this is just the display and the missing a good lighting system and missing a horn system. But besides that, they're both relatively really awesome scooters and really great for adrenaline. So this is 011X light. It's not the worst light in scooters, okay? But I would say for the price you're paying for a scooter, I'd hope there'd be a better light than this. I have seen some people actually change the little disc on it, because what it has on the very front is a magnifying thing, so it kind of hones it in. Whereas if you remove that magnifying glass and just put a flat piece of glass, it throws the lighting out wider, so it's not so focused. So where it's focused, it's bright, but there's not a lot of throw. But then when we turn this thing off and we go to the Kaabo Wolf King, and that's actually the low light, that's the bright. This is the bright light. You'll see how much more of a throw that throws out there. It's really wide, it's really bright. I love riding a Kaabo Wolf Warrior at night or Kaabo Wolf King. They're both the exact same lighting. And so I do prefer this at nighttime. There's really only 4 scooters on the market that I say are actually worthy of riding at nighttime. That's going to be the Kaabo Wolf King, Kaabo Wolf Warrior, Curtis Panther, and the VSET 11 Plus. All 4 of those lights are really solid, but anything else, I would say you probably have to get a different light at nighttime. They're both super fun scooters. They're both very high-powered scooters. They're both adrenaline junkie scooters. The Kaabo Wolf King, to me, is faster off the line, but we are going to test that out pretty soon, so make sure you subscribe to our channel.
That was an awesome comparison of the 011X and the Kaabo Wolf King. Hey Andrew, why don't we take these things for a ride?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.